Gnocchi, you gonna help me with the treads and risers? Finish the landing? Come on. No? Okay, I'll come get you in a second.
Good boy.
On the previous episode of Good Boy Builds, Gnocchi and I did some major repairs to the walls and ceilings. We prepared the old stairs for new tread and riser installation, as well as leveling and installing the subfloor for the stair landing area. There's a lot to get done this time around, so let's get to it. Okay, on to the treads and risers. It seems like nothing about these stairs is standardized. Each riser is slightly different in height and length, and each tread is slightly different in width and length. Not only that, but the treads are not right angle rectangles, but are trapezoids. Scalene trapezoids to be precise. Luckily, I only had to take into account these angles when installing the first tread, since gaps between the first tread and the wall in some parts will not be hidden by the stringers I'll install later on. It's in Gnocchi's employment contract that he gets some playing time before a hard day of installing treads and risers. At this point, I was getting into a rhythm. Riser, tread, weights. Riser, tread, weights. Riser, tread, dog. Wait, that's not right. Felt like quite an achievement to just get the landing done and the tread and risers. I was quite sick of staring at those ugly old stairs. Next, since I lifted the stair landing, I needed to cut the old doors to size. He's back, looking cuter than ever, and hoping you'll subscribe. Please do. I restained the bottom with this gel stain. I noticed that compared to normal stains, the gels leave a better even and dark stain on old wood. Probably because the stain mostly sits on top of the wood rather than penetrating it. I don't know. If someone does, please leave me a comment if you've experienced something similar or I'm completely wrong. Onto the stair stringers. I wanted to have a go at cutting out one long stringer that fits into the new tread and risers rather than fitting lots of little ones around the treads and the risers. That means that I not only had to get the dimensions right of each individual rise and length, but the contours of this fancy bit at the end of the tread. To cut out this nose tread on the riser in order to fit the stringer around it, you can use a router to cut out the shape. But first you need a jig to be consistent. You also need router bushings, as they can hug the edges of the jig cutout to make the shape. You do have to take into account the distance between the edge of the jig and the spiral bit when using bushings. And the majority of online tutorials won't show you that you need to center the router plate as perfectly in the middle as you can. I also later realized I probably should have done this with a fixed base, would have made it easier. Anyway, here's what it looks like on the first go. I played around with the size of the jig for best results and decided to make the cuts slightly larger so I have a little bit of room to maneuver the entire stringer into place. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Next, I needed a wall template of the new edges for the stair treads and risers. I finally stocked up on some cardboard at home, as I didn't want to have the same experience as last time. Strips of cardboard were held together with the hot glue and made the whole process pretty simple. The stringers will be made from just the 1x8 boards, and I'm transferring the template to it. Another of Gnocchi's contractual work breaks. So here's my router and bushings template at work. As I sat down to edit this episode, I couldn't get the image of the tread nose out of my head. I knew I had seen this shape somewhere. So I walked around the neighborhood, hoping to find a clue. No, not really. That's kind of close. It felt like I was not getting anywhere. Like the answer was staring me right in the face. To make sure the new stringer sits as close to the wall as possible, I had to router out a large chunk out so it can sit snug with the wall and the existing older stringer. I don't know what happened here. I thought I managed to get everything tight, but I may have to sand that down later as best as I can to make a smooth transition between the door frame and the stringer. Ugh, old houses. With one down, I pretty much did the same thing to the other one. I have no idea why I cut out this pointed bit. I think I was trying to have the stringer overlap with the existing door frame architrave. I clearly miscalculated. Anyway, it's easily fixed. I made this detail to go on top of the stringers because I was feeling luxurious. And it will cover up any of the mistakes and gaps. Oh yeah, I also made this weird block thing for when the stringer meets the door frame. Let's see what we're going to do today. Gonna sleep, go for a walk, and do some wood filling. Gnocchi? What are we going to do today, buddy? Oh, no. Guess we're doing work. Are we going to do work? Yeah. Guess we're going to work. I decided to use wood filler to fill all the little holes. It's a little messy and time consuming, but it's sandable and I can reapply it if the first amount shrinks too much or it cracks. I thought it would work quite well. I know that people usually use cork, especially the sanded one, since it's quick and elastic, so there's less chance of cracking. But most cork cannot be reapplied in layers, one on top of the other, once it cures. Actually, maybe the sanded caulk can be reapplied. Let me know if you know in the comments. Oh, yeah. I forgot my wife asked me to cover up this dead space above the door. That should work. Just before I get to the baseboards, I have to finish off this bit where the stringer should have continued to the floor. Right, baseboards. I found the easiest way to do this is to draw out the area, write down all the angles and distances as best as possible, then pick out a starting point and work clockwise and write down the length of each baseboard and the angle cuts required at the start and end of each piece. This makes for a more systematic approach to cutting and a lot less time running around measuring, double checking, and so on. Instead of using wood glue, I used super glue and an activator and pre-assembled the parts of the baseboard instead of installing each piece individually. The problem I had here is that nothing was square, flat, straight, or plumb. I thought that if I can at least get the angles looking well, I can fit in the baseboards. I was skeptical at first that the superglue would be strong enough to hold the baseboards in place, but it was quite strong. Might be worth wearing a mask when spraying the activator though. The stuff looks pretty poisonous. I found the use of shims useful to make sure I could adhere the baseboards to the wall while still keeping the baseboards upright. Of course, it created sizable gaps at the top that would later be filled with caulk or wood glue. Now more filling. And wiping. And sanding. Lots of sanding. And it was finally time to paint, and I knew someone who was desperate to get stuck in.
Gnocchi, you could help me paint? Yeah. Make a good brush.
I'll keep this short since no one really wants to watch paint dry. The walls and ceiling came out pretty well, but they were never going to be perfectly flat, straight, smooth. They were without any cracks, though. It was a huge improvement compared to what was here before. The top of the stairs is one of Gnocchi's favorite places to sleep now. It's a highly strategic location, protecting us when we're upstairs. You can also see into what's happening on both floors and smell whatever is cooking in the kitchen. Good boy. It felt like I was almost done, but I still had to install the new light and work on the door and door entrance at the bottom of the stairs. So close. I hope to see you all in part 3, the final push. And again, thank you for watching.